Well, welcome to probably the darkest 1 ounce pour episode you're going to listen to. If it sounds a little off, it might be because we're coming down from a 4-day bender and feeling a little hungover, and we weren't even thinking about doing the show, but here we are, day after my birthday and feeling all of 30-something. Just going to leave it at that. Today in the 1 ounce pour studio, we have Cody in the corner.
Hello there. Welcome.
And he already said he's going to do this entire podcast in a very stern voice, so I'm very excited for that. But before we get too far and too deep into this podcast, let's raise our glass. Our little 1 ounce. Chin chin, Cody. I think this is the first time you've drank only an ounce in front of me all weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like all my good friends, Cody also hasn't listened to the show at all, so it's going to be a treat to kind of show him live what this show's all about.
I'm very happy to be here. You know? Very happy to have been flown in and to enter this studio.
We flew Cody in from Oregon specifically to be here just because of his soothing and sultry voice.
Yes.
Yes. So in case this is your first time listening, like Cody, let me just explain what this hobby show is about. We're going to discuss a little bit about Cody's hobbies, kind of go into depth about, I'm just kidding. Here's the deal. All of my hobbies, Cody has shared with me, basically. So It's going to be exciting. It's going to be mainly just talking about what we used to get into up in Oregon and how we used to get into trouble. So
Shenanigans.
It's going to be actually a fun episode. I'm excited. If you're listening, I hope you're excited. I hope I can bring a little excitement to you today with Cody's smooth and sultry voice.
I'm still full on meatloaf. Thank you.
Meatloaf on a hot summer day, brought to you by my mom.
Best meatloaf.
It really is. It's my birthday present every year, right in the middle of August, to have meatloaf. It's delicious.
And we've shared that tradition for quite some time.
Cody's had my mom's hot meatloaf for quite some time now.
Quite some time.
Anyway, we're going to start off with Drew's Brews Cruise because actually Cody got to join me on Drew's Brews Cruise a couple days ago to kick off his little vacay here. We actually went to Templin Family Brewery to start. So big shout out to TF Brewery. And I had a Czech Pilsner there that was really good. Cody, what'd you have?
I forgot.
You had a Dunkel.
A Dunkel, that's what it was.
Yeah. How would you describe your Dunkel?
Very tasty.
There we go. Very tasty, very delicious.
And then I think I followed it up with a Ferda.
You did. Yeah, you got that double IPA in. I had the Albion, the Belgian Triple, if you know how to pronounce beers instead of Belgian Triple, like I said for 10 years before somebody corrected me.
Oh.
Triple. Yeah, and then we went to Fisher Brewery. Big shout out Fisher. Then we went to Keto's. Big shout out Keto's. Which, oh man, you got to talk about your beer at Keto's.
Oh yeah, the pickle beer.
Yeah, and it was a full pickle beer. It tasted like I don't know how to. I mean, it tasted like a pickle. But
it tastes like a pickle.
But it was also a beer.
It was a beer.
Yeah,
I added a little hot sauce,
and there was hot sauce in it. It all kind of coagulated at the bottom, didn't it?
Yeah, that was the worst drink for sure. What's that last sip?
Yeah, and then we went to B. Wilder, and that was also... So, out of all the places I took you, where would you say was your favorite?
I want to say I liked B. Wilder a lot. That was a fun one.
And not only was it a fun one, but there's some fun cats down there.
Yeah, we had some friendly people.
We did. We met a guy that had a scratch and sniff tattoo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unbeknownst to him, by the way. He had a fresh tattoo, and he was all greased up and looking pretty. And we walk in, and I was like, "Oh, cool, new tattoo." And he's like, "Yeah, I just got it." And I was like, "Awesome. Is it a scratch and sniff?" He was like, "No. Is that a thing?" And I was like, "Yeah, I got a scratch and sniff tattoo on my knee." And he literally leaned his head down to my knee. And before he got there, he looked up at me and goes, "What does it smell like?" And I said, "Shit."
It was phenomenal.
That gave me a tattoo idea, though. I think I'm going to get a tattoo on my butt, and I'm going to make it a scratch and sniff tattoo.
I would.
Yeah. And actually, here's how we'll do this, okay? We'll have a shameless plug right here. If you go to patreon.com/1 ounce pour, 1 OZ pour, and pay us money through our Patreon, I will then use that money to, one, make t-shirts and stickers, but also to tattoo a scratch and sniff tattoo on my butt. There we go. Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And don't forget to follow us on the 1 Ounce Pour podcast on Instagram. We're getting quite the following. Yeah, we're kind of becoming the popular girls in school.
Instagram.
I don't either, but
I don't know what that is.
I now have a 1 Ounce Pour Instagram. Yeah, and I also am having trouble figuring out how it is. But it's happening.
It's working.
It's working. So, now that we got that out of the way, let's just jump straight into it because, again, I mean, we lived together for 8 years.
At least.
And most of my hobbies are also Cody's hobbies. One of which I think I want to talk the most about is mushroom hunting.
Yeah.
Because that's a hobby that Cody and I shared for a very long time. It was such a big hobby that we would devote way too much time to. Yeah. We did a lot of studying. We had the Bible, the little mushroom Bible. We went out. We were specifically after morels and chanterelles.
Yep. Oh.
I think how you got into it is interesting because just so that everybody knows, the way I got into mushroom hunting was because Cody was like, "Hey, grab a knife and a brush and let's go out and hunt mushrooms." So that was easy for me. I just got into it by following him. But yeah, talk to us a little bit more about how you got into mushroom hunting.
Well, I got into mushroom hunting because that's what my dad's job was for a while. A long part of my childhood when I was like 5 to 7 or 8 or so, he would go out and pick mushrooms. So I got to learn through him, and I got to do it with him all the time and go get mushrooms.
Where were you guys picking primarily?
Florence on the coast.
Okay.
Oregon.
Yeah, people that don't know, it's up in Oregon.
Yeah. There was times we'd pick in like Lapine and stuff too if we were out hunting over there and stuff like deer hunting and stuff. Like we'd go in the middle of the day and go find some spots where he knew there would always be mushrooms.
And what were you guys primarily hunting out there?
Out there, it was, he called them pines, but they're called mazutakis. And yeah.
So big money mushrooms.
Yeah. Very interesting tasting mushrooms too. They have like they taste like cinnamon almost.
Really?
Yeah, so they have like a sweeter taste.
Huh. That's interesting. Mushrooms are crazy like that because everybody's like, "Oh, a mushroom tastes earthy." And that's about all they know to say about a mushroom. Like, "Oh, it's such a robust, earthy flavor." Okay, what's the robust part about it? Explain more. It's like earthy. Like, okay, cool. But then if you know someone that's actually had a chanterelle, they're like, "Wow, that tastes like chicken."
Or like a steak, really. It's
it's like a meaty mushroom.
Yeah.
Whereas you have a morel, it does have its earthiness to it, but it's like a little bit more like buttery too. It's a great eating mushroom. So you're saying that a shiitake,
mazutake, yeah.
Mazutake tastes more on the cinnamon side.
Yeah. It's got
Were
like
you
a
guys
sweet
also hunting lion's mane out there? Because isn't that kind of the area for it?
We never did lion's mane or bear's teeth is another one that looks like it. Those ones out there. I mean, we do like chicken of the woods, things like that, which is a fungus that grows on a log. It'll always grow on like dead logs, basically.
Gotcha.
And stuff. So we'd find stuff like that too. And then on the coast too, you got like lobsters, which are red. I don't really like to taste them. People say it's seafoodish.
Do they taste earthy? Robust and earthy?
But they taste like seafoodish kind of fish. It's kind of an interesting flavor. I don't really care for that much. And then if we were up in like Sandy, Oregon or something like that, which is, higher up in the mountains and stuff like that, we'd be getting like hedgehogs up there and stuff like that, which is also, it's close to a chanterelle, but just smaller.
Oh, okay.
And yeah.
Yeah, Cody and I would go up and specifically go after the morels and stuff. And it's funny because if you ever hear someone refer to it as mushroom hunting, you're going to be kind of like, is it hunting? But honestly, it kind of like Cody and I also used to bow hunt. It's very similar. You're walking quietly through the woods and you're kind of scouring for signs of mushrooms. And once you know the habits of the mushrooms, like the habits of a deer or something. The habits
from a morel. I could never figure that out still.
It started to get a little easier.
But there were so many times in certain spots where we were like, you wouldn't think they would be, and then we were finding them like mad.
That's true. That's true. So morels, it's funny because morels grow in fresh burns on south-facing sides of higher elevation. But then we'd find them in a valley on the north side where there hasn't been a burn there in decades. So just like, well, I guess this is where they're growing now. I think it's less of a... this is their habit, and this is more of like this is their spot. And
they like trampled earth too. So spots that have been walked on a lot too, they tend to like, which is interesting and weird.
Whereas like porcinis like to grow in thick pine, right? Like thick pine needles.
I think so. Yeah.
Sorry, aren't those the ones that poke up through the pine needles?
You get some that there's all sorts to do that. Like you can get like boletes and stuff like that. Tend to pop and make like a little spot where you kind of almost dig them out.
Mm-hmm. And for those that don't know, don't pull mushrooms out of the ground, right? It's a whole network. Cut them.
And then they'll grow back.
Cut your mushrooms.
Most likely.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Morels, technically, you don't need to worry about it as much.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But because basically what you're doing with morel anyway is the seeds are falling out.
When you're pulling them out of the ground?
Yeah, their seeds are like coming out, their spores are coming out. So it tends to make more grow in that area. So like a lot of times with morels, I found later on that like you really want like a netted bag almost to carry them around in because then you're spreading there.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So we were doing it wrong.
Yeah.
That's right. We were like, yeah, I will say hunting morels was more of a wander around, stare at the ground, try and find some, morel type areas. Whereas chanterelles, I felt like I was just crawling on all fours underneath wet branches and stuff and finding them.
Yep.
Yeah. The morels were like, you find one, you walk, you find another, you walk, you find another. Chanterelles was like a little trail.
Yeah.
Like you're on all fours and you're like, I got one. I got one. And then you go to the next one, you're like, I got this one. Yeah. Then you keep crawling and you're like, oh, there's another one.
And then next thing you know, you're like, on all four, just like crawling under stuff and just finding them.
It's like how I would have guessed a gold panner. Yeah. I got gold. Like the same thing. You're just like, it's just so exciting. You keep crawling. Whereas in morel, you get that burst of excitement, but then it kind of dies off and you got to keep wandering and find more and stuff like that. But yeah. So once you got into it with your dad, how long did you and your dad hunt mushrooms for?
I mean, we'd always do it whenever I was in town visiting or stuff like that. I mean, like I'd come in town and
so it's a continued hobby. It's a
my dad still
thing.
does it.
Okay.
He still does it whenever he comes down and visits here.
That's awesome.
We went morel hunting when he came in June, and
that's awesome.
I found one this big. Kid you not?
Well, okay,
my first one.
He's holding the size of a Nerf football. Which is the second time in a show I've referred to something the size of a Nerf football. I don't know what it is. I have kids, so maybe that's what it is. It's like the Nerf size footballs. Of a beer can.
Yeah, basically.
What kind of mushroom was it?
A morel.
What?
I found the biggest morel I've ever found.
That's insane.
I've actually found 3 of them, but 2 of them were dead.
Because the biggest one I think I've ever found was, it was hardy, but it was definitely not the size of a beer can.
Yeah, I also found a crap ton of blonde ones this year, which I hadn't really found a whole lot in the past.
I know, and the blonde ones are the
tastier ones.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, Cody and I would hunt our morels, get them, bring them back, and then make 30 pounds of mac and cheese with them.
30 pounds of mac and cheese.
We'd dredge them. We'd make deep fried morels. We'd make like a bechamel out of it. And, we did everything with those. Yeah. Those were good. Those are good. Those are up there on my things I miss most about Oregon. And apparently there are spots to find morels out here. I guess Park City has a lot of good morel spots. And we were actually I took Cody up to Snowbird, and we were walking around there, and we found some mushrooms. I don't know what they were, though.
I'm not sure what they were either, but there was definitely a lot of different types.
Yeah, so there could be spots. Yeah. There could be areas.
I would think there is.
Yeah, I would assume. Yeah. I would assume out here, for sure, because it's high desert. We got that atmosphere for it. It doesn't rain as much, so we don't have that, 3 days after a rain getting out there and trying to get after them. But where would you say your hobby of mushroom picking has taken you recently. Have you seen some cool spots because of it?
I mean, they're mainly the same spots we always kind of went, like
Okay.
up around.
All right. Just to let everybody
That
know, Cody's spoiled by what he gets to see when he goes mushroom hunting. And I was too. I mean, like, I was just like, oh yeah, I go out to Howard Hyatt, kind of around that area and stuff like that. And then people would come out and visit and see that spot and be like, holy crap, this is so beautiful. And I think a lot of people don't realize that part of mushroom hunting is you're going to a spot that is out there,
out of the way,
and not on a trail usually, or you take a trail to get off the trail to go and mushroom hunt. Yeah, you're seeing a lot more of nature than if you just went on a normal hike.
Yeah, for sure.
You got to pay attention to a lot more on the ground and kind of see where you're at. And,
you know what's funny this year? Bear Creek, like because of that fire that raged through.
Yeah,
all along that whole entire path, that walking path.
Yeah,
that goes right through the sides of the towns
with just morels everywhere. Oh. All that hunting. So another thing with mushroom hunting is nobody tells you shit about mushroom hunting. So you're welcome, guys, for actually telling you on a podcast about how to get into it and doing all of that. Because you'll talk to people and you'll be like, oh, you mushroom hunt? That's very interesting.
Like,
tell me more. And they'll be like, oh yeah, it's like
telling you
it's like over here. Where? Like over here. That's all you're getting. You're lucky I'm pointing east instead of west.
So you probably need to look in the west because they're probably in the west.
I mean, like, people, they fucked with us.
Yeah.
We went out to Applegate multiple times trying to find in like these spots that people told us. It clearly was not the spots.
Although I found them out in the Applegate one time. So
but
I mean,
not where we were looking. Yeah. Where we ended up finding them was just kind of sheer happen that we were turkey hunting.
Yeah.
And then we found them.
Yeah.
We were like, oh, I guess this is the spot.
Yeah.
And then we kept going back there and kept finding more and more and more and more.
It was just like the area we hunted for deer and stuff. Remember that time I found one lone chanterelle in the middle of nowhere?
Was that like near Copco? No. That was behind Talent.
Yeah.
You're talking up in the...
Yeah.
Behind,
we'd never seen a mushroom up there like that.
Yeah.
And I found one. And I was
we used to go up there and look for mushrooms, and we found they kind of gave up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that whole area, it's like kind of a forested area.
Yeah.
Like
heavy
loggers go in there
and
and log the area pretty heavy. So yeah, you would have thought that would have been a good morel area for being like such churned and trampled earth. Never really saw them up there. No. And boy, hey howdy, did we try.
Yeah. We definitely did.
Yeah, never really saw a whole lot of deer up there either.
Oh, we saw some.
We did. Sorry, we never got close enough to some deer up there.
Well, there was the one as we turned the corner after leaving the car, having a conversation, and literally looked over, and it looked at us and ran.
Yeah, that could just be our hunting experience in general. Just so close all the time. Yeah. Mushroom hunting, though. When has it gotten you in trouble? And I know you got stories on this, so let her rip, Tater Chip.
There was definitely some times when I was around like 17, 18, and I would go by myself. And I'd go around Florence area and stuff like that. And I remember one time specifically where, because you don't really want to get in other people's territories and stuff like that, because people who do it professionally can tend to carry guns and things like that. So you don't really want to just necessarily go tromping through the woods unless you know where you're at and you know what you're doing. So I was wandering through one time. Straight ahead of me, there was a person who reached towards his side as he's walking towards me for what I assume is a gun.
Yeah.
And so I reached to my side, which unbeknownst to him is just a knife in a big sheath. But he can't see that. So then I just stare him out, and we just kind of circled around each other in a very big circle, and then went our opposite directions. But that one was definitely a little scary.
Yeah. The Oregon woods in general can be... I'm surprised there's not more horror movies about the Oregon woods.
Yeah.
It's some scary place to... A couple examples on my part, one of which involves you, so we'll talk about that in a minute. But multiple times I've been riding my motorcycle, crested over a hill, and was all of a sudden kind of going downhill into a little valley, and there's just like a couple guys with guns, rifles, standing there, guarding their weed field. And I'd just kind of give them a wave, like, I'm not going any further, don't worry, turn around and get out of there. Then the other time...
Are we going to go super hobo camp?
We're going to super hobo camp. Another time, Cody and I are just traunching through the woods, having a good time. and we came upon a hobo camp. That's what we called it. That's what it was. I don't know.
It started out, and we didn't even realize how big it was.
Yeah.
We came down off this hill, and literally next to a tree was basically a little tiny outpost. We were like, that's weird. And then we walked up to it, and there was like a blow
dart gun was the scariest part, because like of all the weapons you could choose to guard your encampment, it was like a sentry tower.
Yeah,
it was like
this kind of little
sentry tower with a blow dart gun in it.
Yeah,
and we just walk up, and I'm just thinking nothing would be worse than walking through the woods, stumbling upon this camp, and just getting hit in the neck with a needle and being like, "What?" and falling over.
Yeah. We were not unarmed on that one. We had our bows and everything.
But yeah, we came upon this hobo camp. There was that blow dart gun, and I was just thinking, this is the last thing I want to do right now. And we walked through this camp. And I don't think it's politically correct to call it a hobo camp. That's just what we named it.
We don't know what it was.
We don't know what it was, but there was like
tents everywhere.
Clearly outdoor latrines. There was like a stream, little tiny stream running through it, like runoff stream.
Beds built underneath like logs and all that stuff.
Built under, and then there was like syringes everywhere and like surgical tubing.
Backpacks everywhere.
The crazy part is it looked like either they ran away from this camp and ditched it, or they were just out getting supplies or something, and they were going to come back.
And as we kept going up too, we just kept seeing more and more, and a lot of them were older as we got up there.
Yeah,
like you could definitely tell it was a camp at one point in time, but it had been like dismantled.
Yep, a lot of trash, a lot of stuff.
That one was definitely
that was bad, and we turned around and we left. And then here's the messed up part. I then took my now wife and was like, "You got to see this." Took her there. I was like, "What do you think?" And she's like, "Why did you bring me here?" And I'm like, "Hobo camp, am I right?"
That was pretty good. Yeah,
very romantic. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's definitely a thing. The mushroom hunting thing, though, that's a thing too. You got to watch it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You got to watch it because that.
Oh, there was time I was tracked by a cougar once, too, where I knew it was a cougar behind me.
You could just feel it. Mm-hmm. It was like that time we were scouting and had our bows, and you could just feel it. Yeah. It's a different thing.
That's when you go back to back.
If we die, we die together.
Well, they won't come at you because they'll see you looking at them. They're not really aggressive that way, usually, unless they're, like, in between them and their children or something, or they're, like, starving.
Yeesh. Either way, I don't want to see that. But yeah, the Oregon woods. It's more terrifying than you think.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's your big old, like, you got a whole bunch of mushrooms and won the big jackpot? What's a big win story for you on mushrooms?
I mean, I definitely, there was a good time or two where I got like 20 or 30 pounds of chanterelles. Sold them, made some money on them, and all that kind of stuff. That was always fun and nice.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest jackpot, I guess.
I don't know. I think mine was when we got all of those morels and took them to that diner where I got married.
Oh, yeah.
And we traded them in for lunch.
Oh, yeah.
That felt good.
I forgot about that one.
Yeah. I had asparagus soup. They had really good asparagus soup. But that was a win.
Yeah, that was a win.
That felt like a huge win for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the other, win is the fact we both have mushroom tattoos.
There you go. Yeah. We both got our mushroom tattoos. See? Chin chin. Yeah. How would you tell somebody who clearly is never going to go to your spot, so you don't have to worry about it, how would you tell somebody to get into mushroom hunting?
I'd want to say talk to locals, but that's not really going to help you much.
It'll never help you. Yeah, go that way.
It's definitely, I would suggest knowing where you're at and knowing the area where you're at, hiking it multiple times, not, so you don't get lost, things like that. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't have a good sense of direction,
it's not only a good sense of direction, because you have a good sense of direction, and I had to call you to the car one time.
Yeah, that's true.
It's not only just having a good sense of direction. Even if you have a good sense of direction, you're staring at your feet the whole time.
Exactly.
You're just wandering, looking down, trying to find a mushroom.
So one key thing, too, is to look up occasionally and get your bearings and know where you're
Where am I at?
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially if you feel a tingle on the back of your neck.
Yes.
Okay. So, go on. Sorry. How to get into mushroom hunting. Sorry.
I don't know. I mean, like, as I said, that's kind of it. You just want to figure out where you're at. And the hard thing is you're going to have to go with somebody who knows how to mushroom hunt. You're never going to do it by yourself alone for the first time because you don't know what that mushroom looks like specifically.
Yeah, get a Bible.
And because there are poisonous mushrooms, and you can really get yourself very sick if you don't know what you're doing.
Yes. Get a Bible. They sell them. I mean, I got mine at like a side of a road bookstore or something, but they're great. I mean, did you just pick yours up from your dad or something, or?
Somebody gave it to me a long time ago. We were talking about mushroom picking, and he was like, "Oh, check out this book," and then he just ended up moving away, so I just kept it because I was like, "Oh,
there you go."
Because it's an Audubon.
Like you look at a false morel, and you look at a morel. If you didn't know, you might pick the false morel. Once you know, like once you see the difference between the two of them, you're like, "Oh, that's clearly a false morel. That's clearly a morel."
Yeah, but things like chanterelles are harder, where you can get the ones that do have lookalikes that look very similar.
If the veins don't go all the way down, they'll make you poop your pants for a decade and a half. Yeah. No.
So things like that.
Get a mushroom Bible. It will save you a lot of toilet
paper. And find
paper.
a friend who knows how to do it already.
Find a friend. If you can't find a friend,
earn their trust.
Yeah, that's the hard part because. Again, is a very secretive community. It's crazy. Most hobbies that I interview people about, or most hobbies that people are into and I ask them about, it's so like, oh, I can't wait for you to get into this hobby. Let me tell you all about it, and this is what you need, this is what you need to do, and blah, 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 blah. Mushroom hunting, not the case at all. It's like, oh, you want to get into it? Well, figure it out. Figure it out.
Just figure it out.
Yeah, and it's a lot to figure out. I would actually add to that and just say persistence.
Yeah.
Because it is very frustrating to walk around all day and not find anything. And that's part of it. Yeah. Like you're going to walk around and not find anything. Mm-hmm. Even some of the best guys that we talk to that once you have a spot and once you are mushroom hunting and like you have proof and all that kind of stuff, then the community opens up a lot more. Yeah. We've talked to old timers that were like, "Oh yeah, I haven't found anything in forever. Like it's been a month and a half. I haven't found anything." And you're like, "Oh, really? Well, where do you get your chanterelles?" I get my chanterelles. Wait, hold on. Where do you get your morels? And then you're like doing that dance, or you're like, "I'm going to tell you the truth, and you have to tell me the truth." Like, okay, I get my chanterelles up here. Okay, we get our morels over here. Thank you. Yeah,
that's definitely a thing too.
It's like trading Pokemon cards.
I mean, sometimes a lot of times too, like in local towns and stuff like that too. Like, I know Ashland would do that in Oregon, and they would do like the teaching, like the walking trails and teaching things. So you could do that too potentially, and then like it puts you with somebody who's knowledgeable, or hopefully should be knowledgeable on that kind of stuff too. So that helps too.
That's true. Yeah, I think they do have foraging classes specifically, and foraging is what you're doing when you're looking for mushrooms. So.
And I mean, when you're out there doing that too, I mean, why not look for wild asparagus? Why not?
Yeah.
Look for the other cool stuff that's out there.
Actually, that would be kind of cool to get into around here is the foraging aspect, because I mean, I just know the mushroom hunting aspect. I don't know the whole foraging side of things. And that'd be cool to make a whole meal out of it.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so on the foraging aspect, have you ever created an entire dish? Oh, by the way, Cody's an immaculate chef and has been doing it for
around 15 years.
15 years. And yeah, if you ever get a chance, try Cody's cooking. It's amazing. I don't know if you want to shout out your work or not, but you can. He's a great chef. So, but have you ever foraged for your own food to the point of
an actual full meal,
or even a side dish or something? I mean, we've created a lot of meals out of our mushrooms.
Mean, as far as that goes, I've made chanterelle soup and done all that, and I've done soups and stuff with that. But I mean, I'm adding other product that I didn't find, but I've definitely found like wild ginger, used it.
That's cool.
I've found huckleberries and stuff like that. I've done berry things. When I was a kid, we used to go make pie after we collect all the blackberries and stuff, Yeah. So that's awesome. I mean, in that sense, yes.
Okay. Well, good.
I've done at least a dish or two, probably.
So, enough about the mushrooms. They're great, and I love it. But Cody and I just did something this weekend that we haven't done in 8 years.
Yeah, since you've moved, basically.
Yeah. I mean, it's been like
before
5 years or something like that, or 4 years. But we went and did some archery together.
Mm-hmm.
It was awesome. We bought a target, took the recurve out, just
one of our most expensive, ridiculous hobbies.
And it is. And Cody and I used to literally, I'd get off school and we would load up his Honda Civic with a bunch of archery stuff. And we would go out to the woods and
set up targets, and
set up our targets, and just start shooting.
Yeah,
and that was fun. That was a lot of fun, and
a lot of missing arrows,
tons and tons and tons of missing arrows. Man, that's actually one of the reasons why we then got into fletching our own arrows.
Yeah,
and started actually.
And then figuring out the tips of the arrows.
And figuring out the tips, yeah.
Remember the judo ones that wouldn't catch in the grass and they'd pop back?
True, those were cool.
Yeah.
Those were awesome. But those were like small game arrows too, which we'd eventually use on squirrels.
Yeah. And lizards.
And all sorts of horrible little creatures that probably shouldn't have felt our wrath, but did. Yeah. So how did you get into archery?
I started when I was a kid. We always just, my grandparents' house, we always just had little kid bows and stuff. Like they were bows. They were just lightweight bows. They were like 25, 30-pound bows. Yeah. And like we'd have, arrows and stuff like that, and then just go run around and just go into the woods and shoot what we could.
That's kind of how I got into it too. I mean, I had two grandparents that were very into archery. One of them, and we were just talking about this the other day. Yeah. One of them was, "Oh yeah, go ahead, grab my bow, like go mess around." Mm-hmm. And I mean, I would just take this bow and arrow and shoot it into logs and stuff like that and just wreck arrows. Yeah. I'd shoot them up in the air and watch them fall, like just stupid kid stuff. Yeah. And then my other grandparents were like into archery. Mm-hmm. So it was a legit weapon. Like don't ever mess around with it. Don't run around with it. And it was hard because at that point I'd already kind of gotten into archery. Yeah. So I'd go to their house. I'm like, I know what I'm doing. Like, no, you don't. Like, you're standing like a goon and just firing an arrow. So my other grandparents were more into like the technical side of archery and learning how to paint your face and do all the correct. Technique. Here's how you stand. Here's what you do. Here's how you knock your arrow. Here's where you knock your arrow. Yeah. Like here's where you put it on the rest. All that. And it was great because I got kind of like the best of both sides. And then by the time I got up to Oregon, it was a hobby that dwindled out a little bit, and then met Cody, and here we are going out in the woods, shooting random targets.
I will say my grandma was always very strict on know where you're firing your arrow.
For sure.
Never fire straight up into the woods and just be like, oh.
Oh no! Unfortunately I did that as a kid, so I can't claim otherwise. But what would you say to somebody trying to get into archery? Because we were just talking about this weekend, and I think you brought up some good points.
There are cheaper routes now to get into it. Yeah. Like, well, one, if you're getting a compound bow, you're never in a cheap target range. Mm-hmm. You're spending money, and a lot of money. But now, they with some of the recurves and stuff they have, you can get them cheap enough. And you're spending $100-something. Yeah. Usually they'll come with arrows. Not always. But then you can always get arrows, and I found some cheaper ones on Amazon that were not cheap arrows, but cheaper than going to the store. Yeah. But definitely, talk to your local archery shop and stuff too, I mean, we did that all the time.
Yeah, they'll always
they were
put
always
you in the right
very
direction.
helpful. Yeah. Any of the ones we ever went to.
And, not to point you in a direction maybe you didn't want to go, but always find a local archery shop. Because you can go to some of the big box stores and they'll probably they'll set you up. But, man, it's cool to support a local place for sure. Mm-hmm. But also, those guys are not working there because they just need a job. They're working there because they're super passionate about archery. Yeah. And you'll get different styles while you're there. Like you'll get guys that are diehard traditionalist recurve hunters, and then you'll get guys that are like maxed out their compound bow to basically fire itself. Mm-hmm. And then you'll get guys that are all they do is target archery, and you'll get guys that do competition target archery. And it's cool because in those shops, you can usually find 3 or 4 dudes that all have their own niche or all have their own style or whatever.
For sure.
And it's cool to kind of get set up by somebody who's that passionate about it that they've made it their whole job and their whole life. So that would be my suggestion on if you're going to go to a place, go to a local place.
For sure.
Yeah. And also, archery is a difficult thing to start, and you're going to look stupid. Like you're going to tear up the inside of your arm. Yeah. You're not going to know how to hold the bow. You're going to rest the arrow and knock it, and it's going to like flop off. And don't worry about it. Like archery is one of those things.
The more you do it, the more you're going to pick up weights that are easier.
Right. And everybody in that community started there. Yeah. So nobody's going to be like, oh, like, what are you doing? Everybody knows what it's like. I feel like, and I hate to say this on this show, archery's so much less like bro mentality than like guns.
Yeah.
I
if you get heavy into like the compound part of it, I feel like that's where it switches over a little more, because then people are like, oh, you got one of those, I got one of these. It's better.
Like I've mentioned this on the show before, that I'm not a big gun guy. I like guns. I just don't know a whole lot about them, nor do I really want to. I don't really care, because I like archery.
Yeah.
But back when I had Facebook, right, I'd throw up pictures of me shooting, you and I shooting together, like at a target or something. And people are like, oh, cool, like archery. Mm-hmm. And then I'd throw a picture of us shooting guns, and the comment section would explode. There were so many people critiquing the way that we were shooting guns. Where like nobody was critiquing our archery. Yeah. Nobody cared. Yeah. But then people are like, oh, you're locking your right elbow too tight. Like you need to loosen up your right elbow. I'm like, dude, I'm just out shooting guns. Like chill out. And they'd be like, oh, you gotta watch how you're holding your elbow out. Like, if you hold your elbow out, that's wrong. You gotta hold your elbow in, and you gotta do this, and you gotta do that, and you gotta blah, 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 blah. Every single picture I posted of, like, the two of us shooting a can out in the woods, people just blow it up. And then I'd post a picture of us doing archery, and people would, oh, cool. Nobody was like, oh, roll your wrist to maximize, you know. Like that. People didn't care. But guns, man. Everybody that I know that owns a gun is an expert at being a gun owner, which is great. Don't get me wrong. Please continue to be an expert in gun ownership. That's amazing. They're very, very deadly. Yeah. You should definitely know everything you can about a gun. But maybe ease up on the Facebook comments every once in a while when someone's just out shooting a can. Like exactly. I'm not training to go and John Wick the whole.
Yeah. I don't think we need to do that.
No, but getting into archery. Mm-hmm. Right? Go out and buy a bow. You talk to your local archery place. What would you say the next thing is? Someone who's just getting into it. They're taking it out. Maybe they're getting frustrated or something. Any advice on that? I mean,
just keep practicing. It's advice for just about everything. Though,
it really is.
Situation. It's just not to let the frustration get to you, and just keep practicing, because eventually you will get it down.
And eventually your grouping is going to get a little tighter, and it's going to feel a lot better. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, look at that. Yeah. Look at that. I will say, when we just went and shot this weekend, there were some parts where I was feeling a little defeated and a little embarrassed, because it is like riding a bike. Like, I know how to put an arrow in and start firing. It's not like riding a bike with the whole, like, honing into the target and getting your grouping in tight and everything.
That definitely was a little harder.
You gotta keep up with. And I think that's part of any hobby is, you gotta keep up with it.
Yeah, for
and you also gotta keep going with it. And then you gotta not feel shitty when you go out and your grouping sucks and you're not, hitting the target every time.
Exactly.
And, burying some arrows and ricocheting them off into the woods. And it's an expensive hobby for that, by the way. Yeah. You're going to lose some arrows.
As you lose arrows, it gets more expensive.
Yeah, for sure. But what's a hobby that you've gotten into recently that you've been pretty excited about?
Well, I started doing some Frisbee Golf, which is very entertaining.
Okay, and also not referred to as frolf.
It might be, I don't know. I haven't heard it been referred
slang,
to as that.
But I've heard Frisbee golfers say, no! That's not what it is. All right.
It's a pretty nice community of people that I've met and stuff. And everybody's really relaxed. And I don't want to say stoned, but most of them are stoned.
I think it lends itself to that.
But it's pretty cool because they build these courses, like golf courses and things like that, where it's the same kind of rules. You're working on a par 3 and you want to get it there in 3 shots or better.
So how does somebody, because I understand that there are multiple discs,
yes,
right? You're not just flinging one disc.
There's a driver disc.
Yeah,
there's
it's like a golf set.
Mid-range discs. There's putt and approach discs.
Putt and approach disc? Wow.
Yeah, it literally is. Okay. It's based off golf, basically, and stuff. And the way that the Frisbees are shaped and their weights and all that stuff change how they fly. Yeah. And they'll have 4 numbers on it. One's like, the first number's like the power that you throw it with.
What?
So like, that's like how
hard
you throw it. Yeah. Like, your distance drivers are going to be
full power.
Full power, basically. Your mid-range is going to be, you don't have to go full power to get it to go far and stuff like that. And then same with the putt and approach.
With Frisbee Golf, is it like a designated course that you're on? Is it a golf course that also does Frisbee Golf, or how do you find these courses?
There's a lot of their own courses now. Like,
okay,
the one on SOU is its own course.
Southern Oregon University.
And that's actually a professional course. That's a recognized course.
Like recognized
in the community of that. There's like I can't remember.
So there's like a national Frisbee Golf.
National Frisbee Golf.
Okay,
like,
cool.
There are like huge competitions. People win money. People that's what they do for their living.
Wow.
Like golfers, like
that's cool.
Really that.
All right.
But way cheaper than golf.
Yeah.
You can get a good starter set of like 3.
Okay.
For like $30.
That's
all
amazing.
You're paying for.
That's awesome.
That's all you necessarily need.
$30. I mean, what do you pay to go on the course?
Nope. None I've seen so far.
It's just a free course. You just start.
Yeah. You start a hole one and just go, and it'll kind of guide you on the way of how what's in the way, what's trees, and like that.
Is there an app that you use to look at the courses?
A bunch of apps.
Okay.
That are usable. I have UDisc is the app I have, I think.
Okay.
And it'll show me courses around me and stuff like that. And
that's cool.
They're like how good of courses they are. If they're like people don't really enjoy those courses that much, it'll be like,
so they rate the courses.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And tell you how they play kind of thing.
Does it tell you like, hey, dogleg left or something?
The app itself, if you have it on while you're playing, you can actually it's supposed to map the course. It tells you or shows you kind of on I think it's Google Earth even.
That's awesome.
And it just pops it up and shows you where you're at. But yeah, it's pretty fun. And then there's the SOU one's a smaller course, so it's only 9 holes.
Okay.
And then you get
it's normal. It's like normal golf. Like you have 18 or 9 holes, and you play it twice or whatever.
Although I did see one with 21 holes, and I was like, that's weird. But
do you score it like golf?
Pars and birdies and hole 1. Yeah.
All right. Now, how does somebody get into it? I mean, is there a place that sells these discs?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of places around sell them and stuff like that.
Like Sportsman Warehouse kind of places?
Probably. Okay. Exactly. And I would assume you could probably even find them at Walmart. Okay. Target, those places too, really.
Are there good sets, like golf clubs? Is there a brand that you would say hey, look for a Titleist or...
Yeah, I mean, there's just do your research. There's, different brands. I haven't delved into other brands yet. I've just been using the ones I started with.
Okay.
But those are very common when a lot of people have them.
All right. Because I'm glad this is also a hobby we're talking about, because I've seen Frisbee Golf set up all over the place in Utah. Yeah. And I've always thought, man, I wonder what that's all about. How does it work? Because I just see people throwing Frisbees at a chain catching device. Yeah. And
and that sound when it hits those chains is magical.
Is it frustrating? Is the actual thing, the sport, frustrating? Because I could just picture myself launching one way past the stupid chain thing and getting very irate.
I mean, it sucks. You're going to lose them. That's for sure.
Okay.
I've lost a couple on the roof of SOU at one point in time.
But it's $30 for our complete set.
Exactly. So and if you write your phone number on it, usually people will call you and return them.
Yeah, you just told me a story about that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or people won't, and that's fine anyway. It was $10.
Somebody else has your Frisbee.
Or you'll find sometimes without numbers on them, and then you're like, well, that's a new Frisbee for me.
There you go.
It's just how it is. That's how it's played, And
Use, reuse, recycle.
Exactly. And that is one of the rules of that game as well, is to pick up trash if you see it.
I like that.
And that's that is one of their rules.
Huh. Interesting.
Also a very good game to just have a beer to.
Yeah.
That's always done nice, and you can just sit there and kind of have a drink or two while you play.
So it is like golf.
Yeah, it's exactly like golf. Obviously on the SOU campus you can't do that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, maybe in a koozie.
Yeah.
Again, we need to make koozies. Multiple people have told me we need to make koozies. Or you just
make a mixed drink and you put it in a hydro flask.
Yeah, but I mean, then we need to make hydro flasks. We need 1 ounce pour hydro flasks, 1 ounce pour koozies. We need a whole
lineup.
Yeah, again, pay us money, please. We'll make you cool stuff and you can have it. So, yeah. Has your Frisbee Golf ever got you in trouble? Have you knocked out anyone's window? Or
nope. I just got a couple on SOU once. I put one in the top of a giant pine tree.
Oh.
which was...
That'll be a whole season before you get that back.
Actually got back.
Oh, good. You didn't throw your shoe up there and it got stuck?
Oh, we tried so much to hit it with get down with sticks and stuff like that, but then you're just throwing your arm out by that time because it was way up there.
Because it's a whole day of chucking, so you got to be...
You want to keep your arm...
Maybe conserve a little bit.
Arm strength, definitely. And there's different ways to throw, which is really interesting too. So, like, you can throw... what would you call this?
Underhand?
Underhand, or you can throw overhand.
Okay.
Like, I throw overhand, so, like, I throw this way.
Like, flick it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, like, the buddy I go with does the underhand.
Huh.
And we both play very well, and we do generally around the same.
So it's like darts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's different ways to do.
You can throw the correct way, or you can throw my way.
Yeah, exactly.
And get laughed at in bars.
I've seen the professionals throw my way, so I'm like, I don't feel like, I'm like, okay, that's kind of where I learned it.
I've never seen anyone throw darts the way I've thrown them. And
no, I've never seen anybody do that either.
I think there's a reason.
But the fact that it works is
insane. It works really well. It's the only way. I mean, like, the traditional, putting the hand in front of your face and flinging the dart outward from your face, that's the proper way to do it. And my way of, like, I don't know, flicking it out from under me is the not proper way. Yeah. And it still works, but I still get laughed at every time I do it at a bar. So, whatever.
But yeah, it's a fun one. I think you should probably pick up Frisbee Golf.
I'm actually going to try Frisbee Golf. There's a lot of...
if you ever, when you come out next, we can always do that
There we go. I feel like it's a...
You definitely want to deal with somebody. It's going to be boring by yourself kind of thing. I've done it by myself a few times, but that was when I was learning, and I really just wanted to get out and practice more. It's not as much fun. But I still had fun.
Oh, well,
don't get me wrong, but, like, when you're with somebody else, it's, because then you're keeping score against somebody else's score kind of thing.
Yeah.
Makes it a little more challenging.
All right.
Makes you want to drive a little harder for it, But...
And is there, like, a big accomplishment that you've done recently in Frisbee Golf? Like, have you parred something that you've been pretty proud of, or...?
Yeah, there's some fun ones where you get, like... Well, I haven't lost my disc golf in a pond yet, and there's some ponds you have to throw over in some of them.
No, which is all right. So you're the pond master.
Oh, I wouldn't say that, but there's also some on the back of SOU where you're literally throwing over nothing but blackberry bushes, and you're trying to sail it across.
Oh man, people that don't know a blackberry bush, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, you don't really want to climb around on those to find that $10. Mm-hmm.
I think I'd just give it up.
Yeah, that's basically what you do. And then for some reason, somebody will call you anyway and be like, I found it. And you're like,
what do you look like? Are you just covered in scratches right now?
Like, thanks you.
You're attacked by a cat?
I gave up on that one.
Wow. All right.
But yeah, there's some like nice ravine ones too, where you throw like over like ravines, like these giant, like,
Oh, that's cool.
And then
just go straight across.
Yeah, and you're just like trying to get like crossed. And then like the other later numbers on it too are interesting too, because it's like, it's which way it'll like go. It'll either go left or right.
Oh, so the Frisbees will actually have like
a number system on it to tell you if it has a left glide or a right glide. So you can get around trees.
That's ridiculous. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, it's really neat in that sense.
Huh. All right, and do you get a run? Like kind of get a running start to throw it, or do you have to stand still?
No, you don't have to stand still. Okay. I mean, like, definitely... there's a little, like, platform that you're going to throw from.
Like a tee box.
Like a tee box.
Yeah, all right.
So you could do, like, the Happy Gilmore style where you could get a little of a...
Okay.
That's usually how I do it. I don't really just stand there and go, because you don't really get the oomph behind it.
Yeah.
But I get the little, like, run up and sail it.
That's cool.
And then you just kind of keep an eye on it. Don't ever get green ones. You're going to lose them in grass.
I would assume so.
Unless you're playing in, like, a dirt area, then green is good.
Do they make light-up ones?
I've heard they do. I haven't really looked into it yet.
Because, I mean, like, they make light-up knocks for archery.
I'm sure they probably
They make light-up bocce balls. I'm sure that they're out there.
The only thing would be, like, how it would affect the Frisbees.
Oh, because of the weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, see? Like, this is all... Yeah, it's a real legit, like, everybody's putting some time and thought into this sport.
And just looking at the disc, too, once you start doing it, and, like, looking at, like, the different styles and stuff, too, where you can get one disc that's, like, they'll have, like, a name.
Okay.
Be called, like, the Valkyrie or something like that. They all have, like, really cool names kind of thing. And you can get, like, the Valkyrie, and you can get it in different weights. So if you feel more comfortable throwing with a heavier one, that's what you're going to get.
Like bowling.
So you can find, like, the weight you want, kind of.
Yeah. Like heavier bowling balls.
And, but it's like The weird thing is it's like, I think 165 grams to like 175 grams or something like that. Like the weights.
Yeah.
That's like the weight.
So you could just take 180 grain vinyl and chuck that.
Yeah. Or something. You know what I mean? Like it's like something like that where it's just so weird and it's just like.
Do some have like holes in them or
I haven't
like
seen any
fins
I haven't seen any with holes in them.
I feel like we need to start customizing this world.
I think that would actually be against the rules.
Oh, so you have to stay within a parameter for these discs.
I'm sure, yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure that's, why they're...
Gotcha.
I don't think you take just a regular old Frisbee and just go out there and be like, ha!
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So do you have to chuck your putting one into the chain? Or can you chuck like a distance one into the chain?
You can do a distance one. It's going to be harder.
Well, I mean, like, what if there's like a hole-in-one situation or something?
Yeah, you can get hole-in-one.
Have you ever done a hole-in-one?
I have not. I have watched a kid do it, though, at SOU. And man, that kid was
just
so excited.
Lose their shit? I feel like I would lose my shit.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive. It was on a par 3, and and that was the one where I lost it on the building, because it's a weird throw where literally you're like right next to the road.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And so you're throwing it, the dorm you used to live in.
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
So that building, that little alleyway behind it, you're right there, and you're throwing it along that whole alleyway kind of thing onto the hill up there.
Yeah,
and no, that one was it's a hard one.
All right, that's cool
you're
though.
Gonna scratch up your Frisbee along the ground if you
How do you miss the cars and stuff?
You just
okay.
I haven't hit a car yet, but that is definitely one of those things in some of those spots when you're throwing.
I would be so upset if a Frisbee hit my car.
You're so nervous, and you're like, that affects it too, because the last thing you want to do is nail somebody's car and just be like.
I would definitely nail someone's car. It's a good thing I'm not doing this sport right now. Just wreck someone's car.
But there's a lot of like courses too where we're near a road and stuff like that too, and get up in the woods. And
there's a great course up at Solitude here in Utah. That's pretty neat. It's on a mountainside. Yeah, a mountainside. And the only reason I know about it is because I've been mountain biking up there and just seen Frisbees fly past me. Like, oh, geez, there we go. So it's a downhill course, I guess. You ride the ski lift up and then walk down the course throwing your
that's interesting.
Frisbee. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah. So now I think I'm going to look into this sport. I'm going to figure out somebody to take with me. Yeah. Tom's not here today, as you all noticed. Maybe I'll get his ass out there. Yeah. So, or you'll just have to come visit again and do that. That'd probably be the better route to go. Any hobby that you've been thinking about getting into that you want to get into?
Nothing I can think of. I don't think that was definitely the newest hobby I've come across. And I dived right in. I only started back in like spring.
Yeah, because we haven't touched on a lot of your hobbies. You recently got a mountain bike. So
I got a mountain bike.
That's when you're going to get into, right?
I'm going to get into that a little more.
Yeah. Good luck with that. Yeah. I'm excited to hear more stories about Codi mountain biking, because that's a hobby I'm very into now. So I'll get into a little of your hobby. You get into a little of my hobby. We'll figure it out.
We'll figure out a way to play it with
Frisbee golf on a mountain bike. That'd be awesome. We might just have unlocked a new hobby.
And we might have.
Yeah. Well, very cool. I'm excited that you got to do this. I know that it's been a long weekend of debauchery, and we're both not on our A game today.
We're both very sweaty right now.
We're both very sweaty and very...
You probably heard Drew burp a couple times.
It's been bad. It's been really bad.
I'm kind of like shying away from the mic as I do it, but you might still be picking at mine as well.
You could probably smell it through the freaking microphone. So Cody used to... you heard me refer to him as Cody in the Corner. He used to be on my radio show back when I had a radio show in college, and we used to call him Cody in the Corner. Yeah. And he would just say something sultry into the mic, and that was about it.
Yeah. I would add little chirps of things.
Little chirps of love noises. But one day we were...
knowledge sometimes.
Sometimes. One day we were in the studio. I think there was a long weekend of drinking there, and Cody was like refueling his body with nothing but energy drinks and pepperoni sticks.
Yeah. Pepperoni sticks. Whew.
He farted out of his mouth is the only way I can describe it. That's the only way I can describe it. It was the worst smell I've ever smelled in my entire life. So your hobby should be clearing rooms with burps. And it's come close a couple times this weekend. It hasn't hit that level yet, but it's come close.
I've been avoiding
a couple times this weekend where I've been like, why? What is wrong with your body?
We also haven't been stuck in too many small rooms together. So.
Except for right now. So yeah, it's been great. Yeah. But thanks for joining the 1 Ounce Pour.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and don't forget to drink it 1 ounce at a time.